especially because, new people may be here and may not essentially know what EnerGii Tribe is about. And so this would be like an avenue to also like familiarize yourself with the community, and then, get to hear or see what we are doing, and then see how then you can interact with us in any way, build with us, and just, follow us along this journey, I guess. So basically, like, the EnerGii Tribe is essentially like a community of people just very interested within the energy sector. Like, that's the short form. The longer form is that we are looking to build much more depth, looking to build more technical depth, looking to build like together as a community, looking to grow expertise within this sector, also looking to build within the different aspects or career landscape that the energy space itself offers. And so basically this is just like an avenue to plug into what's happening like globally or even locally within the energy sector, and then also grow alongside a community of people, essentially like people that are like-minded, people that are interested in like exactly the same things that we are, maybe not exactly the same things, but at least surrounding like the energy sector, people that are essentially like interested within the same things we are interested inside this sector, and then people that have like a bunch of like knowledge and is also willing to share with all of us and all of that. So yes, you're welcome to another like edition of the EnerGii Tribe event. And so for today I'll be having a conversation with Edidiong. Edidiong is like, I'll leave him to like do the whole introduction, but then just like a brief highlight that Edidiong is the founder of Legendville Energy, and then he's also the founder or like the head brain behind Project LILA. And so he will take us through how that journey has been for him, essentially how he has built or he is building Project LILA, and what that means for the energy landscape in general, what that means for us. Maybe if we have one in our house like this, we'll never suffer from like, suffer from paper and all of those things. But yeah, so he's going to like, explain that journey to us, and essentially just, allow us to see the back end behind building, especially like a tangible product within the energy landscape. And so let me not, say so much, because I feel like Edidiong has so much to say. And, if I take the stage like this, it will be like I'm vlogging. But yeah, I mean, Edidiong, please feel free to like, introduce yourself, tell us who you are, tell us what you're into and all of that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that, Kaito. That was a very lovely and wonderful introduction. She has done the basics. My name is Edidiong Willie. I am a chemical engineer. I studied chemical engineering actually at the University of Abuja, and I immediately after that I joined the oil and gas industry. I worked with Greenville. I worked with EBTS. Don't worry, I'll walk you guys through how all of that happened. And I just had passion for using my knowledge of engineering to come up with different solutions or different tech products that can solve my everyday, challenges. I've been doing that since my secondary school, so it wasn't something so new. And so when I now found out that, oh my God, my country has no actual plan, sad to say, to actually make electricity better for me in the next 1 year. All the projections they are making, you will find it 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Does that mean I will suffer for 20 years before having, good access to electricity? And the thing is, a lot of businesses thrive in Nigeria. They run on electricity. They need electricity to survive. If you are even into freelancing, you need electricity. So that sparked my own passion, gave me interest, and I decided, let me make something for myself and for other people. So I started with myself, used it at home, and then decided that we should also come up with stuff like that for people. So yeah, a chemical engineer, a process engineer, if you will. I'm a consultant, I'm a founder, I'm an author, quite a number of things if you want to call it out. And I'm still building. I'm not yet there. I'm still building and still growing. So it's a beautiful thing to surround yourself with a community of people that share like minds and passions, and that which is why I'm grateful to have someone like Kaito, and why I do not think people appreciate enough the community that she has built called EnerGii Tribe. So I myself am grateful to be part of it. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me. Thank you.
I think one thing that caught my ear was when you mentioned that you are an author, you are this, you're that, and I'm like, hey, you're doing multiple things at the same time, and so that's very interesting to know, especially because sometimes we tend to see ourselves as like taking one path, and
Yeah.
for people that like us that have multiple expressions of ourselves, it's
Yeah.
always very interesting to see the different things that we can achieve without necessarily having to block one thing or move one thing or the other. But yeah, it's good to have you, Edidiong. Like I said, like I was very intentional about bringing you up, like bringing you into this space and also bringing you to speak about your journey, basically because you're someone that has a lived experience which many people don't have, or which quite a number of people don't have. And so most of us can boast of theoretical knowledge. And so having that theoretical knowledge and then translating it into a tangible product that is available and will be available to use at one point or the other is like quite interesting. So essentially, I think I want to deep dive into our main conversation.
That's fine. That's fine.
Kind of like see what was going on. I think one very question I want to ask is how did you think of Project LILA? Like, why did you even name it Project LILA? Because it feels like a girl's name. sorry, but like,
Yes.
just like explain what Project LILA is about, and then why the name, how did you start all of that?
All right, that's fine. Project LILA essentially is about building an energy unit. We know we have energy challenges in Nigeria, but can we build a system, maybe a unit or system, portable for homes and businesses, and maybe large scale for industries? But can we come up with a process that we can put everything together as a unit that can actually give reliable electricity? Not just reliable, but affordable and sustainable. So reliable in the sense that you can count on it. It's not like NEPA now, you have an interview or you have an exam to take and you are praying to God, let there be light at that time. So that's not reliable. So LILA focuses on reliability of power. Then you talk about affordability. Affordable in what sense? People are paying so much money for diesel. People are paying so much money for petrol. So we compared and we looked at, there is an alternative, which is gas, cooking gas, CNG. And cooking gas and CNG are cheaper than petrol and diesel. But people don't know that because people buy petrol in liters, people buy gas in kg. So people don't know the quantity of gas you buy in kg is actually 2 times. It's 2 liters. When you convert it based on its density. And so it focuses on affordability. So we chose an energy source that is affordable, and then sustainability in that what impact will it have on the environment in terms of CO2 emissions, something environmentally friendly. And so we looked at putting all of that together in one unit. And so Project LILA is about, let's develop this thing, let's make it, and let's scale it up. 5 million units. Let's reach 5 million homes and businesses. So the target is first 3 million households, because we know there are about 49.5 million houses in Nigeria, or households in Nigeria. And then for the SMEs in Nigeria, those are small scale businesses, we have 39.6 million of them. So how can we reach them? So 2 million businesses are our first target, So that's what Project LILA is about. As regards the name, Kaito, as regards the name, so I was thinking, because that's not the name we started out with. The name of the product itself is an LPG energy unit. But you can't go out there and be like LPG energy unit, because I'm interacting with a lot of people and not everyone is so technical. So you need to give a name to your product. Your product can be called an iPhone, but it in itself is not an iPhone. It is an interface. It is a mobile device So we were like, what name do we give? And I was on a call with my head of media and communications, Shaibu. And while we were talking, I was like, we need to come up with a name for this thing. What if we just call it Lila? Like out of the blue, the name just came out. And I was like, Lila or Lilac. And I didn't even know what name to put precisely. But after saying it a couple times, the name Lila just stuck. Initially I was suggesting we come up with a name that signifies power, something that can power people's homes, something that can give energy. So power, energy, lightning bolts, thunder, something like that. And when I just repeated the name to myself, Lila, over and over, I said, this is not going to be what people expect. And that's why I also choose it. Like, it's something that, just like you said, it sounds feminine, but it's still able to deliver. It's still able to get the job done. So I'll just say it caught my my attention. I loved hearing it in my ear, Lila. So I said that's the name of the project, Project LILA, and we're going all out. So
I was expecting something very deep.
That's all.
Because up till now, I think I had not asked you up till now, like how.
Yes.
I was very surprised when you mentioned like that was the name, and I was like, maybe there's like a story behind it. But
if you want to know how the idea came, the idea came while I was bathing. I was showering in the morning, so Well, I was working with Greenville, so I was at the refinery site, and they have a camp where they lodge us and everything. So that morning, I just woke up and I was just having my date. And while the water was still pouring, I was just thinking, we have the project we were doing then was the PMS to LPG upgrade project. That was the project I started Legendville with. So while we're doing that, we faced some challenges because that was not the main project I wanted to do with Legendville. I wanted to introduce a certain technology that Nigeria is not yet using. But to just release that, you don't have the infrastructure for it in Nigeria, the policy regulators, the government themselves will fight you because they feel you are going to be opposing their own product, which is oil and gas. So I was like, let's start with that PMS LPG upgrade, then we'll just switch. So while I was just showering, I was like, can't I find something compatible with what the government is doing now and bring that in so that at the time when we want to release the technology that I feel Nigeria is not yet ready for, we would have already penetrated the market enough, to release the product and not have so much opposition from the government. And with Project LILA, I would have already built the infrastructure that would absorb that technology when we release it. And so while I was just trying, the idea just came. I ran out of the bedroom, with the soap and the water and everything. And my phone was on the window. So I quickly pressed my phone, went to my company group chat, and I sent a voice note, like a 4 or 5 minute voice note. Guys, I got it. The idea is this is what we're gonna do. And I started explaining from beginning to the end. The idea that just came. I was so excited. I think I'm always overexcited and overcharged. So that's one thing my team will tell you about me. And I just shared the idea with them, and I went back and continued my shower and went to work. So,
this sounds like African magic, but then I know that sometimes like some of the like craziest ideas or the best ideas actually come like when you expect. And so I think that's why I'm even much more excited for like Project LILA, especially because like one thing you mentioned is about reaching 5 million households and businesses. And so essentially seeing how that would progress and how that would, capture, how you would also capture and scale that large amount of people is one thing I'm really excited about. So let's see. So then how did you start building essentially? Like, how do you wake up one day, like possibly like maybe there's someone here that has like a brilliant idea and has probably even shared it with like a couple of people, but then it's just like, how do I start from, especially in an industry like the energy landscape that could be very tricky, and they have like a lot of people are doing very interesting things and all of that. How do you start building? How do you just start?
I think the best way I will put it is just start. That's the short answer I'll give. Then I'll explain. So just start. If you don't start, you would never, get to enjoy the process. You never get to finish. I was at the Nigerian Energy Summit in 2024. My company sent us there to represent them and other things. And I got to listen to, I cannot remember her name. She's a fair lady. I think her name is Idara Bong something. She was the CEO of one company. And people came in and they kept talking about the energy challenge in Nigeria. And then the MD of the company I was working at, each time the man meets us, the young people, he's always telling us that we are the ones that are supposed to change Africa, that the old generation is going away. And each time the man speaks to me or speaks to us, I would be honest, my heart used to burn. I used to feel this sensation in my chest, like, God. And the reason is that I usually have ideas and I used to write them down. And I felt like when I get to my 40s or 50s, I'll start doing them. I never really imagined that I would start any of those things while I'm young. I used to think that when people talk about a CEO, it's one old person that has garnered experience. So I wanted to work for like 5 years in the oil and gas industry, as an employee before I start doing anything. So I don't know. It just my colleagues at the office. Each time my MD speaks and he goes, I will ask them, "Let us do something. What did you guys think we can start? Let us start something." Like this man cannot keep talking, but there is this level of familiarity and still finish that comes in. They're like, "Don't mind the man. Don't mind the man." It's always saying those things, and they never actually get to do anything. But honestly, it kept me up at night. After that engineering summit, I went back home. I couldn't sleep. If I sleep, I would wake up at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. How could I do this, And then I was like, okay, what do I want to start with? Because the idea I wanted to introduce into Nigeria, I already know that we don't have technologies to support it in Nigeria. Our infrastructure cannot support it at all. We need, just like, so that people understand what I mean. So when you talk about infrastructure, you mean for you to introduce the technology of cars, we have cars that are powering mobility and everything. For you to introduce cars, there has to be an infrastructure that cars will survive on. Number one, it's filling stations. You need to have a filling station that, if you only have one filling station in the entire, let's say, Nigeria, no one will have cars because if you have to travel all the way, all of that. So you need filling stations enough, to be able to support people using cars. You need to have mechanics around. If you always have to send your vehicle to the company abroad each time your vehicle breaks down, it's a problem. So having trained personnel, technicians around can, and then you need to have roads. Roads are also important infrastructure for cars. So there are a lot of things that have to come in together for you to now say that successfully the technology of cars can be absorbed into an ecosystem or economy or an environment. And so the idea I wanted to start Legendville with, the name wasn't actually even Legendville to begin with. The name was actually Legend Tech Industries. But when we went ahead with the registration, the name we applied, it got declined. We tried and tried again, and we ended up with Legendville Energy. The idea, I was like, we can't take this idea out there yet. We're going to face a lot of resistance from the government. We're not going to get funding yet. They're going to crush it at the start. So I looked at, my generator runs on fuel. Is it possible for me to make my generator run on gas? Why would I want to make my generator run on gas? That's the first question. If my generator runs on gas, would it be cheaper for me? So I spent 2 weeks doing the thermodynamics behind that. I'm a chemical engineer, as I mentioned. So I had to calculate how much energy is in 1 liter of petrol. All right. So petrol is PMS, LPG, PMS, premium motor spirit. So how much energy will I say is there? And then compare that with how much energy is in a kg of gas, and which one is cheaper, which one has more, which one will last longer. From the amount of energy in it, I can actually tell how long it's going to last, when I connect the same amount of load to it. So I spent 2 weeks doing those calculations over and over again, and I found out that generators are totally inefficient. Our generators, my own generator at home was about 19.142% efficient, literally. And that was a brand new generator. Let me point that out. So I asked the question, where does the energy go to? If you put in energy into a system and it's only taking out approximately 20% of the energy, where does the remaining 80% go? So I found out it goes out, is wasted in heat. So you lose, your generator gets hot. All that heat that is going out is your money going, you're losing money. Sound energy, energy is converted from one form to the other. All right. So you that sound loud sound you're hearing from your generator, that is your money. Let me just let you know. Go ahead. So um but I went ahead with it. We had two generators then, one new and one quite old. So I pulled both generators out, and I had not worked on a generator prior to that time. The highest thing I knew about generators was to put engine oil in the generator when it needs servicing. So for the first time I pulled them out, I said, I don't know where, I don't know how, but I'm going to work on these generators till they can run on gas. I don't know. So I pulled them out, started studying the parts of the generator from where to where the fuel flows through here, enters this particular place which is mixed with air through Bernoulli's principle, that's the carburetor, before it enters the internal combustion engines. As an engineer, I had a sort of understanding about internal combustion engines, but I wanted to know at what point can the gas replace the fuel? All right, because based on the calculations I did, gas was going to last longer, at least 60 minutes longer than fuel, and gas was more cheaper, 40% cheaper than fuel. So I was like, if this is it, what do I need to alter in the design of the generator? So I spent time again doing research, and I realized I needed to change a particular part, the part that mixes fuel with air. I was like, if I could get that part to mix gas with air instead, then I should be able to get the generator to run on gas. I went out there, bought the carburetor part that allows for mixing of gas. It's called a gas carburetor. I had to focus a lot about safety because just so you all know, engineering is hanging on four things. The first one is your innovation, the idea you have. The second thing is the economics. It must be affordable for the people you want to sell it to. The third one is safety. It must be safe enough for them to make use of. And then the fourth one is teamwork. You must be willing to work with people. So I am very, very particular about safety. So I first studied all the safety measures I need to take, so that I don't end my life in. And I could take that risk, to be honest, because I had a childhood of doing experiments. This is me being, vulnerable with you guys. I thank God for the family I was born in. They might have been afraid for my safety, but they still supported me. They always cautioned me, be careful, be careful, but they still supported me. So I had a childhood of taking things apart, old gadgets and even new ones. I once took apart our TV, until today I never told anybody. So I think I can say that now, since I said the one has traveled. We had a TV there. This was 2016 thereabout, and I took it apart. I removed some stuff from it, and I used it for a particular experiment. So I had that upbringing where I was used to, open things, repair stuff, and make stuff out of other things. So when I got to that generator part, I said, no, if I give myself 1 week or 2 weeks with these generators, I would know how to do stuff. And the last time I said, you can imagine my joy.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Just to make sure that
when I started it for the first time and it began to run on gas, it was like all the gas connected and the stuff was running. I felt like I was dreaming. I understand that the whole science was right, but right when I was little, every time I do an experiment and it works, even though I had done the calculation and the calculation was okay, when it works, you can see my shock. The first time I lighted a bulb and it lighted, oh my God, the first time I lighted a lamp, it lighted. The first time I did salt and water, I mean, you read my story.
Yeah.
Where I used salt and water to power a lamp. The first time that happened, I did the calculation and it was okay. But when it happened, I couldn't believe it. It always, shocked. So that was it. So I would say in if you have
Okay, hi Edidiong. Can you hear us?
an idea, the best way to go about it is just to start. What is the first
Oh, hi Edidiong. Your network is lagging. Can you hear me?
step you need to take? I had to my my network provider informing me that, of my data usage. So that's it. Essentially, I would say, don't wait to have everything figured out. Yeah, start. What is the very first step? And when you take that first step, then every other thing will fall in place. I can see that over and over again because I've done it multiple times. Beyond engineering, when I did freelancing, it was there. And till now, any project we want to do, if you want to wait till you have everything in order, you might end up never really starting. So to everyone who have an idea who can help solve the problems that even I am having, because I know every idea you have is to solve a problem you get. So if you have an idea that can help make life better for me, for you, for every other Nigerian, please ask yourself this question: what is the very first thing I need to do to start? And start from there.
Wow, 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 wow. I think I don't know what to say. I feel like because I was going to ask you about what sort of knowledge, what sort of like experience do you need to have to be able to do this? But then drawing from the fact that you're naturally a very creative person in the sense that you were bold
Wow.
enough to carry your gen and then start dismantling it and then looking for like ways to make this better. I don't even know if that's like the right question to ask again. But then beyond this, for someone who maybe doesn't necessarily have the theoretical knowledge that
Oh,
you
okay.
like someone that is looking to like still make an impact or like build something tangible within the energy space, but maybe doesn't have like the theoretical knowledge because you knew that you were able to know that based on your background, this is if you do this and do this, this is something that would be possible. So for someone that maybe doesn't necessarily have this theoretical knowledge, are there like ways to go about it? Would you advise maybe sharing, maybe bringing in people or any sort of thing around that would be very convenient for the person?
Yeah, okay, so that's very interesting. I think that's a very important question because not everyone is technically inclined. So exactly great. Yes, there are ways, and you should always bring people on board. All right. At Legendville, I have a team of 14 persons, and people, Nigerians, we always feel like, oh, they will steal my idea. They'll steal my idea. I can assure you, nobody will steal your idea. I do like I assure you because every time your idea sounds so simple or easy, you think like if you tell someone they'll do it. I have learned by experience there is no idea that is easy. No matter how easy it is, that is just to connect this to this, and it is never easy. It will take your time, it will take your energy, it will take your money. Ideas are expensive to implement. I'm speaking from experience. They're very expensive. By the time when you're an employee, for example, it's pretty chill and all. But when you become an employer, you have to pay salaries. We first time we put someone on the contract and then we say we have to pay the person. My head, Jesus Christ, So it's actually easy when you're an employee. So for someone who you probably is not your field or your scope or something, it's not really something you have much knowledge about, I recommend a couple of things. Number one, find who. All right, it's not a question of how, it's a question of who. I also learned that along the way. I don't have all the answers. Even when I converted the generator to run on gas, it wasn't perfect. It was carrying some things, it wasn't carrying some things. I had to know what was I missing. I had to find who. And I got someone, the person just touched the generator in 5 seconds. Touched it, and then the thing I say, what have I, so it is always a question of who first, before a question of how. You want to do something so confusing, who do we need? Who can do this thing for us? And then you associate yourself with the person, you get that person. As a teammate, as a co-founder, or as an employee, whatever, get that person. Then getting the person doesn't really exempt you from the work. I can give an example. I can say, oh, maybe I'm not, if I'm good at with marketing, by the way, but let me just say, oh, maybe I'm not so good with marketing. What do I do? Maybe I'll just outsource it to someone. No matter how I outsource my marketing, as a founder, I need to know a little about marketing. So, Kaita, I would say it's important, even if you get someone that can do it, you yourself read up about it, study about it. No knowledge is wasted. Don't be afraid to study. Don't be afraid to get the knowledge. I had to study accounting stuff. I had to study quite a lot, and I'll actually write a book on that accounting stuff I used to start my company. is a book I'm already writing to help people that are just starting up. How do you value your company? How do you project what your company is going to make? All those kinds of things. So it's basically for founders, for startup founders, people that are starting a business, how they can start. So in that aspect, so I studied, I read, I got people around me, but I also had to study. I also had to read about it. So I would genuinely recommend, if it's not your field, read up about it. And the last thing I would say is, if it is on the idea aspect, all right, there's what we call a founder problem fit. Yeah. So a founder problem fit is, are you the right person to solve this problem? All right. If you are so different from the problem, I don't recommend you to be the one to solve it. You can give the idea to someone. I can give an example. If I want to solve, one of the things I did was, I told myself, I'm not going to return my generator to run on fuel. I'm not going to get solar. I'm not going to get an inverter. I'm going to use gas and use NEPA light so that I will always feel the problem. That becomes a motivation that keeps me on my head. Whenever there is no light and it's frustration, LILA, I need to finish this LILA because I need to use LILA. So there's what we call founder problem fit. The best person to solve a problem is someone who has been affected by that problem. Mm-hmm. All right. So you have to have seen the problem. You can't have stayed in a place where there is constant light, and then you come and you feel you have the motivation or passion to, solve a problem that you're not part of. You need to have experienced it. People who experience those problems tend to take more risk, to do what it takes for that problem to be solved. So I recommend first, learn about it, get people, make it a question of who, not how, get people that can do it, and then ask the question as well, if you are the best person to solve that problem. And don't let that be an excuse to excuse you from solving the problem. Till now, I still get ideas. And what I do when I get these ideas, because I know I'm working on something, and I know, this idea might have affected me once or twice, but it's not really a big concern for me. I can do without the problem being solved. So I actually look for, who do I know has been affected by this problem, and I give out ideas. There are people I mentor, my mentees, that I know, this person is in this field. This person has complained about something like this before. I can give this person's idea and let the person work on it, because I'm not afraid of sharing ideas. Anybody that feels they can steal your idea, you'll find out they'll get tired. It takes a lot of money to do an idea, time, energy, and money. So yeah, that's it. The right people, get knowledge, and go ahead.
I feel like there's just a lot. I mean, I brought you on to speak with all of us, but then I feel like I'm even getting much more than I bargained for. I'm constantly, my notes is constantly full. But yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And then back to when you mentioned that your goal is to reach 5 million households. That's 5 million people. That's 3 million in terms of households, 2 million in terms of small, medium businesses. How do you intend to do that? How do you intend to actually reach them? And especially because now there's something called the last mile community. That's communities that are in their need. Those are the ones for example, rural communities that are suffering and all of that. How do you intend? Are they parts of the 5 million? How do you intend to push this out? What's your thoughts around that? Yeah.
I think this is a very important question, and thank you for asking that, Kaito. I would implore anyone who has an idea that wants to take it out there to please pay attention. So there's a very big difference between growth and scaling. All right, people need to know the difference. People think, I want to scale and everything. If you scale without growing first, you will crash. It's just a matter of when. So scaling means that you already have established operations. You already have an established model. That is what scaling is. So before you scale, grow. Your growth means that you are establishing the operation, you are establishing that model. All right, in terms of manufacturing, attending to customers, that is that. So for us to achieve that 5 million, we are first going to grow, then we scale. right? We're not achieving that 5 million in Abuja. The entire population of Abuja, I think we're not more than 3 million persons in Abuja. Based on AEDC, about 1 point something million people are subscribed to AEDC. So we're approximately at most 3 million persons in Abuja. So we can't get the whole 5 million in Abuja. So it's meant for Nigeria and then we export. So we even get beyond the 5 million. But for us to first take Abuja and then enter Lagos, the first thing we have to do is grow, meaning that we have to establish a mode of operation, which is what we're doing. So we build the product first, then we fix the cycle. How do we create a structure where a customer comes today, gets the product today? Because when you order for Lila today, you get Lila in a month. So just to put that out there, you can actually start pre-ordering for Lila. It's available on our website. You can join the wait list to get the product. So when you join the wait list, you only get it 1 month after. All right, 1 month later. So establishing operations means you cannot scale. We can't scale when the product is going to be ready after 1 month. You will just crash. So we have to, first of all, reduce that production time. And part of the challenges we faced in that is in the production line, we don't have a single place in Abuja where you can do everything from start to finish. The place we got is so far out, is out the outskirts of Abuja, and you talk about security issues. We invited one company that we intended partnering with. They are making a particular component that we are fixing in Lila to ensure that air does not seep into the unit itself. So we want the unit to be airtight, so no interaction from the external environment. And so they said they can't come until we provide security for them. And that's understandable because of the location where it is. So it now becomes we now have to say we can't do that. We have to move the stuff into to be within Abuja. And so doing that now, we are now moving between 3 workshops. You make one part here, then you make this other part, then make this other part there, then you now start transporting. So your logistics goes up. You cannot service 5 million people with that system. It's not solid enough to bear that burden. So the growing is to attend to the people on our wait list first, attending to them, and then getting a space where we ourselves can coordinate the entire production from start to scratch to finish rather, without having to worry about all those logistics and the rest. So that is the growth process. So doing that first, and marketing and advertising to get more people to know this is there. Another thing I love about Lila that I and my team predicted would happen was Nigerians would turn the name Lila to Delilah. And while it sounds funny, it's going to make a trend. It's going to trend, and that trend is actually going to sell the product. So people are going to be like, Delilah, do you have Delilah in your house? You do. And with the beauty of it, it's going to make more people aware. So those are part of like the marketing stuff to, first of all, increase the number of people we can handle. From there, so we've broken down the trajectory into the 5 years. In the first year, we have a target of how many people we want to meet, and that is also broken down into months across the first fiscal year. Same thing for the second year, same thing up until the end. So it's not actually an equal number of people who are meeting per year. The number of people who are meeting per year is increasing because our capacity is going to be increasing as the year goes on. So that is the growth. When we've been able to establish that set of operations here, then we can scale it. We can enter Lagos, do the same thing in Lagos, do the same thing other states in Nigeria, and then we now scale beyond Nigeria to nearby African countries. We talk about Ghana, talk about other ones around us. It also involves establishing a distribution network. All right, so we did a full study or evaluation of what we call the value chain. All right, the value chain is basically the demand and supply chain, but some people just know it as the supply chain. All right, so we did a full evaluation of that supply chain to know where are we in that supply chain and who are the other players, in this system that we can work with. So at the very beginning, we are at the manufacturing point of the value chain. And so we now have to highlight or elaborate who would be the distributors, because you have your raw materials, you have your collaborators, your partners, then you have you manufacturing, then you have your wholesalers, your distribution network, your wholesalers, your distributors, your retailers, all of that. There's a network of that in Nigeria, there's a network of that in other African countries. So we studied the generator value chain. How do generators distribute their product in the market? Same thing. Solar panels and inverters. We studied the entire value chain, everything. How do they distribute inverters in the market? How do they distribute solar panels in the market? And so that then again helps you understand the role you are playing. So we would come in first in the manufacturing, as the manufacturers, the players in that manufacturing aspect, before we now do what we call vertical integration, where we start taking hold of other aspects of our supply chain or value chain. But that's basically it, to first grow before scaling. And I think anyone who has an idea or stuff like that, mine is a hardware product, yours could be a software product. It doesn't matter. Whatsoever idea or product you have that you're working on, I recommend first point out and be very real with yourself, be very practical. It's not, you might hype yourself in front of investors or other people, but be honest with yourself. How would you actually grow? You probably you have 10 customers now. What will you do that will give you the next one customer? How will you get to the 20 customers? How will you get to? So you need to have, while you are building, and I didn't figure all of that out at the beginning. Let me point that out, so you don't feel, I always had it together from the beginning. No, I did not. These are things I learned, So you first start, and as you are going along the way, you learn. I had to learn a lot about marketing, about sales. I had to read books on sales. Let me let you know that it's not just about reading articles online. I bought books as well, and I studied them. What if I want to do this? What does it mean? And I also interacted with people that are good in that, people that have had experience in that, and I learned from them as well. I'm still learning anyway from them. So that's what I would say. Be honest with yourself. How would you grow? Don't forget. I would advise you forget about scaling. People will be shouting scale, scale, scale. You might just write up one or two things about how you want about your scaling stuff, but when you write it, keep it one side. First, focus on how do you grow. If you rush to scale without growing, and it happened last year, we saw a company return, I think, about 11 point something million dollars to investors. If you rush to scale without growing, you would burn out, you would crash. It's only a matter of time. You cannot put heavy demand on a system that is not stable. That's just the truth. So stabilize the system, then you can build on top of that system.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for that. So moving on, how did you map out your markets? Do you have solid proof that there are people now that that would really want to buy LILA? And also in terms of funding and investment, how has that been for you? Are people dashing you money?
I honestly wish I wish we were everybody. So let me start from the first question you asked. So what was the first question you asked? Sorry, I think the second question distracted.
No problem. I asked about markets, people, availability of people to actually buy later.
Okay, very good. So this is also very important. As you don't just build a product out of fun. There has to be a market ready to absorb what you build. Even though you're just wasting your time. There are many companies that tried that, both software companies and hard tech companies that build stuff, and people didn't show up because that's not what people want. Now, it is not every time. Let me just give the clarification. It's not every time that you build a product based on what the market wants. Sometimes your market does not know what it wants. So you can build the product first and test it with the market, or test the market with it if you want to put it that way. And if the market accepts it, fine. The iPhone, for example, was not a readily accepted product when it first came out. People insult that. You've studied the history of Steve Jobs and the iPhone. It closed down a couple times, before finally getting to be the iPhone that people love today. So sometimes in his own case, he had to tell his market what they wanted. That's rare. All right, that's rare. Most times you have to build what your market wants. What problem? Your people will not be wanting. People will not be wanting Fanta, and you go and do biscuits for them. If you do biscuits for them, they're telling you they want Fanta. That becomes a problem. So you look at what does the market want. So looking at Nigeria, we have to do even though we know electricity is a problem in Nigeria. So anybody that comes up with a product to sell electricity in Nigeria, people will rush you because you are like selling water in a desert. All right, it doesn't matter in the desert, people are thirsty and you bring water, everyone will rush and buy. You can even sell the water more than 100 naira. You can sell the water for 1,000 naira, people will buy it because it's a desert, people are thirsty. But even though we know that, it still does not excuse us from doing our market research that, because of that, you shouldn't know the total addressable market. That is TAM. So this is what we call TAM. TAM is your total addressable market. It means what markets are available for your product. What is the total people are available? All of them might not buy you. All of you might not even be able to service all of them. But what is the market available for this product? Who are the people that need this product? Now, while I tell you that we have 49.5 million households in Nigeria and we have 39.6 MSMEs in Nigeria, we actually have over 200 million people in Nigeria. Everybody needs it. So the TAM, the total addressable market in Nigeria, is the entire people in Nigeria. Everybody needs electricity. So, and you should know when I said the 200 million people in Nigeria, I don't just mean people, I also mean businesses, because companies or businesses are legal entities. All right, so legally they are persons. The law recognizes them as persons. That's why you can sue a company to court for wrongdoing. You can, so they are legally recognized entities. So we have over 200 million persons, all right, in Nigeria. People need this product. So that is your term. Then specifically, we had to group them that we have households and then we have businesses. We still, again, had to group them because if we are going to reach, out of the 49.5 million households, how many can we reach? How many do we want to reach? Okay, if we decided, let us reach 3 million out of them. Because the reason is the product we want to introduce later on is much higher, is a much higher technology than LILA, and Nigeria is not ready for that one yet. So we want to use LILA to prepare the way. Let LILA be the John the Baptist to our Jesus, kind of. So we want to use LILA to prepare the way, allow the product penetrate the market because it's a similar technology that they are running on. So similar design that they are running on. So let LILA penetrate the market and allow the infrastructure to come on, give us the collaboration and partnership with government and other things, so that when we introduce the tech that we want to introduce, it's not a problem. It will be readily absorbed. So when we looked at 49.5 million, let us reach 3 million. The next products you're going to catch up with the rest, but let us just get 3 million. Then for businesses, let us get 2 million. Now, in the households, we grouped. Not every household is the same. Some people live in 2 bedrooms, some people live in 3 bedrooms, some people live in duplexes. The people that live in duplexes are not going to make it of a 6.5 kilowatt unit. They will need 10 kilowatts. So we had to outline our product to serve the market. So LILA is actually in 6 capacities. There's a 6.5 kilowatt capacity, there's a 10 kilowatt capacity, there's a 20 kilowatt capacity, there is the 60 kilowatt capacity, the 100 kilowatt capacity, and the 150 kilowatt capacity. Any factory or industry that needs larger than that, or maybe event center that needs, or hotel that needs larger than that, we're gonna make that custom made for them. But these are the ones that we're gonna make and keep on ground. So each of these capacities are targeting a specific market. So the 6.5 kilowatt in households address small and medium households. But for big households that are using, big appliances, they have many ACs or refrigerators, we need a big one. They will use between the 10 and 20 kilowatt capacity unit. Then in the MSMEs, we now divided them. So MSMEs means micro, small, medium enterprises. All right, micro, small, and medium enterprises. So we also have large enterprises that are not part of those ones. Let me just point that out. So, and we will also still service large enterprises, by the way. But for the purpose of our market planning, we decided to target, MSMEs. And so we said the 6.5 kilowatt will attend to micro businesses and attend to small businesses. The 10 and 20 and 60 kilowatts will attend to small businesses and medium businesses. The 60, 100 will attend to medium businesses. The 100 and 150 will attend to large enterprises and above. We can make customized. So we targeted those particularly. We broke down the number for each of them. So 1 million for this. So even though I said 2 million households, there is an allotment for big households in that 2 million. There's an allotment for small households in that 2 million. There's an allotment for medium households in that 2 million. So in that 3 million, households is 3 million because we have more people and more households than we have businesses. Businesses are the ones that have 2 million. So for the businesses, there's an allotment for small, there's an allotment for micro. Inside that 2 million, there's an allotment for medium. So we have to break that down. I would say the greatest thing you should look out for or you should seek for in your whole planning and business planning is clarity. Clarity is either, I don't want to call it a gift, but it's a skill. The more clear or specific you are on what you want to do, the better. So seek clarity. Know exactly what you are doing. First, know exactly what you want to do. All right. Then, as you are doing it, know exactly what you are doing per time, and how you want to do it. So clarity is important. All right. So that's how we're able to. That's our plan to. Our focus on the market. So we didn't just randomly come up with a number. We looked at data. So that we can make passion-driven decisions, but sometimes data-driven decisions are more advisable. It helps to guide you. All right. So that is for the first question. Second question, you asked about funding. I'm going to be very real with you guys. Funding is critical. Money is the blood of any business. And we faced that issue when we released our first product, which was our first service, rather, not product. The first thing we did was a service. And that particular service is the only thing out of all the projects we're going to do that is a service. Every other thing is a product. But that first, that phase one we did was a service. And that was PMS to LPG upgrade, where I spoke about upgrading generators to run on gas. Mm-hmm. That's what we started out with. And while it was awesome and everything, people were thrilled. We couldn't generate enough revenue from it because Nigerians were scared of gas. Anytime you mention gas, when they just see it, they start asking questions, and it became a problem. At a point, I had to say, okay, let's not focus on houses for the PMS to LPG upgrade. Let us focus on businesses. So when we did that over and over again, we're not generating revenue from it. I first got funding actually for it. When I upgraded my generators to run on gas, both of them, I spoke to people that I felt were financially buoyant. I know they are financially buoyant, and they are till now. And the first person I spoke to was my best friend, because that guy was earning way more than me. I was in the oil and gas industry, and this guy is earning more than me. How? So I spoke to him first. He wasn't willing to invest. I spoke to about 3 or 4 other persons, and they all loved the idea, but it was always a problem. One of them really frustrated me. He told me he loves it, he believes in it. I should come to the office, let's have a physical meeting. I said, okay, fine. When can I come, sir? He said he doesn't know, but I should come that week. I said, give me a day, sir. I will come. I was at my office. I said, I will leave wherever I am and show up. He said he cannot give me a day. He doesn't know when he's going to be in the office, but I should come to the office. And so it was frustrating. At a point, I got so fed up. I prayed to God seriously because all this I learned very early on in my life. From my childhood, whenever I have ideas and I used to dream about them and do them, I learned that ideas are inspiration from God. You might feel like you came up with those ideas, but none of those ideas are yours. I can assure you. And this thing is not actually particular to believers. Anybody, you can be whoever you are, any idea, the ideas you have that have an impact on the human race, your own wisdom was not sufficient to come up with that idea. All right. So I learned that early on. The Bible says something. It says that there's a spirit in man, and the inspiration of the Almighty giveth them understanding. So I learned that quite early. And so I prayed to God. I said, this idea you give me, that you have not allowed me to sleep at night. 3 a.m. I'm up, 4 a.m. I'm up, and I cannot sleep. I have done what you asked. I have spoken to people. Why? Because we always have this notion as believers, or even in Nigeria as a whole, that if when God has give you an idea, everything will fall into place. When you speak to people, they just drop the money. It doesn't work like that. So God can give you an idea. Just look at God's interpretation of favor. God called Mary highly favored, and she's now pregnant without being married, and she claims to be a virgin, and everybody start asking questions. The case of Joseph, we look at God called that favor, and you saw what Joseph went through. So I got to learn that early on. The fact that the idea came from God doesn't necessarily excuse process. It doesn't mean to be easy. You still go through the process. I still had to learn how to speak with investors. I still had to learn how to speak with people. I still had to learn how to communicate with people. I still had to learn how to sell people on my idea, on my vision. And I learned that people actually invest in you No matter how awesome your idea is, your idea can be the best idea there is. When they are actually putting money on the table, it's not because of the idea, it's because of you. It's because they believe in you as a person, that you are the visionary, you can make that work. So when after speaking to the fourth person and I didn't have fun, I just gave up. I said I'm not going to do anything again. I'm just going to forget about everything and just go to bed. But Kaito, I couldn't sleep. Like Kaito, I still lost sleep. This thing kept on bothering me at work, at home, everywhere. And so I prayed one prayer. I said, God, please lead me, give me direction. Maybe I've been trying to speak to people out of my own, wisdom, that let me find the person that I think can fund this thing. But just give me the right person. And I prayed and I said, I'm going to try it one more time. And I believe we are going to dive into the person. And I was just scrolling through my WhatsApp, and I just had the nudge in me to stop at a particular person's chat. And I was like, I've not spoken to this person in 2 years. I don't know what this person is. I graduated before this person. I don't know what this person is doing in life. I don't know anything, but let me just tell the person. I messaged him. As God will have it, he was in Canada at the time. And he told me he had been praying to God for an idea to invest in. He has been looking for something to invest in for the past 3 days. That has been his prayer point. My dear, under a few minutes, this guy said, send the account details. We chatted about it. He said, send account details. And then we had a 5-minute phone call. As opposed to the other 4 people I spoke to, that had 1 hour, 2 hours. I'm narrating, I'm explaining, and you're telling me, okay, I love this, come to the office. So, but it was so smooth. That was how I started. The funds came in, and I didn't actually, ask him for so much funds. I just asked him for the amount of funds that could help me start what I wanted to start. So I registered the company, gathered my team, started doing, the whole thing. So it was actually a small amount of funds, but it was enough to get me started. So that was the first project. And when I realized that the markets were not ready to absorb that project of the PMS to LPG upgrade, as I said, you make data-driven decisions. We spoke to over 100 and something businesses, online and offline. We spoke to houses, we went house by house, we went shop by shop. I and my team, we did a campaign in Abuja, one shop down, spoke to many shops from one line to the end, one by one, give them flyer, telling them everything. We went house by house. That was our physical campaign. Then online, we spoke with people, marketed, spoke with businesses on Instagram, on WhatsApp, everything possible. So we spoke with numerous this thing, and so getting the feedback from the market, we had to evaluate what needs to change. All right, because when we got that people are afraid, we tried to educate people on the safety of it. But Nigerians were still afraid. The thing I realized, we're afraid of innovation, kind of, in Nigeria, and it's one of the things that I hope can change for young people. Electricity shocks someone. Oh, they don't want to do anything risky. Please do that risky stuff. I've gotten shocked by electricity a lot of times as a child. Literally, I remember I shared this with my close friends. My aunt came to visit us. When I was connecting wires, she entered the room, she was talking to my siblings and me. And what I was doing was literally shocking me as I was there. She didn't know, and thank God I had already disconnected it from the sockets. But that was the experience that led me learn about capacitors. When we say capacitors store electric charge, we don't know what that means. I connected the capacitor to a socket, it stored charge. I disconnected it from the socket, and I touched it, and the charge that it stored began to flow through my body. So for about 5 seconds, I was in another world. When the thing stopped, I was like, wow. So I've gotten shocked a couple of times. I have inhaled, I've shared with my friends as well. I have inhaled chlorine gas. Chlorine gas is very dangerous. Chlorine gas is what they use in making bleach. It is the active ingredient in hypo. I inhaled it into my lungs. I have handled lithium and metal, and it caught fire. Lithium catches fire in air. If you are holding a sheet of lithium right now, it will get so hot, it can literally catch fire. Yet when you drop it in water. I saw that growing up as a child. I had hydrogen. I was doing an experiment where I was generating hydrogen at home for something, and I wanted to light the hydrogen on fire, and I did. Everything exploded. Our stuff flew downstairs and everything. I was not afraid to have those experiences. I had those experiences. I recommend, a lot of people, you can study about the safety stuff so you don't do what to take your life. That's fine. I was young. I was still learning about safety. As I grew up, I learned, as I studied engineering in university, I learned highly about the importance of the safety of any innovation you bring. But if you would say because of fear, you will not, carry out anything that needs to be done you will end up not doing anything. You end up waiting for other people to do things, the Western world to do those things and get it to you. With your activity today, the woman that discovered you the activity, her death was so painful. Her body absorbed a lot of radiation. It disintegrated the cells of her body. All her muscles became weak. So she didn't have control of her bladder or her digestive system. Like anytime she wants to defecate, it just comes out. Anytime she wants to urinate, it just comes out. Everything, she's weak. She can't control her muscles. They have to be carrying her. She died a painful death. But look at how the world is benefiting from the activity today. I'm not saying sacrifice your life, but I'm saying don't be too scared to try. God doesn't like it when you are afraid. Look at what God told Joshua. He said, be strong, be of good courage. All right, be strong and be of good courage. I spoke to a friend of mine last year. He wanted to quit his job because of what was going on at the workplace. He felt it was not the atmosphere for him, but was afraid of how will he get another job? What's the next thing that's going to come his way? And I spoke to him that you're going to make many tough decisions in life. If you think it looks like a mountain, but if you think it's the biggest choice of your life, you're joking. You will still decide who you're going to marry. You're still going to make decisions for your kids. You make many serious decisions in life. This cannot be it. So calm down. Leave that workplace and go out there. And he left the job. We prayed together, and I shared with him that's the same word. I shared with him, be strong, be of good courage. The guy said he held on to that short sentence, be strong and be of good courage. He went out there applying for jobs. He applied for jobs for 2 weeks straight. I am telling you, this guy had multiple offers. After 2 weeks, 3 companies were reaching out to him, and they interviewed him, they offered him the role, and they were trying to outbid each other to get him to stay. And that before you know it, he now had offers again to work remotely for a company outside the country. Then he also had another offer to work for an NGO. All of them came at once. He now has to be the one to choose. If the same way I got a job, if I had to step out there, if you say you're going to be afraid to do something, you end up not doing it. So don't wait until you have all the funds to start. All right, start from somewhere. So the guy gave the funds. We started the major thing. The people were not accepting, the market was not accepting the product. We looked at it. What can we change? I decided if people are afraid of our product, we need to change the product. We need to build a product that makes people safe. That's what LILA does. When people look at a generator and they see a gas cylinder connected to the generator, they become afraid. So LILA is a box. All right, LILA is a box. And that box isolates the gas from the unit itself. So it takes the gas, uses the gas without there being any problem. So if there's any casualty, the entire unit shuts down. The safety in LILA is more safe than any other generator system, any other existing generating set that exist in the world today. LILA is more safe than that. So we have to take that safety consideration into consideration, that safety factor into consideration, that our market wants safety. We're going to build a product that can give them electricity, but still assure them of their safety. Safety around children. Children are clumsy. Imagine a child goes and starts poking things there. What happens? So we build something that is so safe, even a toddler, a child, can operate it. And LILA is actually pretty. You don't need to drag a rope to start LILA. You just press a button and LILA starts. LILA is interactive, as you point that out. So LILA can go off if no load is connected to it after 5 minutes. So there we have a timer. We are making use of AI and IoT. That's not going to come out in this first version of LILA. The first version of LILA is currently being developed. So it's not going to come out in this first version. The thing is to get technology out there first. So the next features that we're adding are the AI and IoT, where it communicates with people. NEPA takes like LILA tells you powering on in 5 seconds, and it comes on. If no load is connected, if nothing is going, it goes off. If for any reason you have gas leaking anywhere, LILA will detect that and go off by itself. And we're not making use of the regular gas regulators people use in their houses. So there is a patented gas regulator that was made in Germany, sold here in Nigeria, that when you're even removing the regulator from your cylinder, it does not make that gas sound. In Nigeria, when you hear this kind of sound, you hear the gas coming. It doesn't do that. It's quiet. It's safe. So we are employing all these safety measures, gas deals and everything, automatic trip off, all those things, to let you know. And if there's a gas leak, LILA will not come on at all. No matter how many times you try to power on LILA, the system will refuse to come on. So we we decided to include that. And when we started Project LILA, we spoke to investors. People kept on giving us hope. It was frustrating. You go meeting after meeting, physical meeting, online meeting. I'll pack my team. We'll go spend money on transport. Go there. They will assure you. They will release funds. Nothing comes in. It became frustrating. Then I realized. I told them these funds we actually generated ourselves. If people were not buying the first services, at this point I already quit my job. All right. At this point, my co-founder has left me because when he came back to Nigeria, started his own business, and then he left the country. So he then closed down his own business. And so at this point, I said, we need to do something. We need to raise funds by ourselves. So we started doing trainings because we are certified in engineering software. Talk about Aspen HiSys, Aspen Plus, CorelDRAW, a lot of other softwares. So we started to do training for young graduates, people that have graduated from school that want to enter the oil and gas industry. One of the things that helped me enter the industry was that I could make use of Aspen HiSys. All right. In the interview where I went, I forgot the name of the company. I forgot the first question they asked me. I forgot. They asked me what the company, and they are sent me the name of the company in the text. I had Googled the company. I had gone to their website, but it didn't stick. So I didn't get that. I didn't even go with my certificate. I forgot to get my certificate there. So, but the fact that I already understood some of these things, they were happy to have me on board. So we started doing training for people on softwares for a while. We applied for many grants. Some grants we qualified for them. We got to the final stage. We didn't make it. Like that. And it was so frustrating because we kept on applying for grants at the same time. And please, I recommend grants are not a source of fund. If you are starting a business and you are starting in your mind that you are going to get one huge grant, that please remove it from your mind. Grants will disappoint you. These people will disappoint you. So those put grant funding in your mind that, this is no. Have your own source of revenue. I didn't just have the idea for Legendville and then quit my job immediately. No, I worked for 10 months after I had the idea. I started Legendville. I was still working. I was still traveling to refinery. I was still doing work. When I come back, and it was hectic. It was so hectic. It was so stressful. But for 10 months, I did that. I saved up money before I finally quit and then focused on Legendville. So I didn't just have an idea and then throw every other thing I've been working on away. So if you are working, gather savings from there. With your savings, you can go out there, you can start your stuff. And so we continued. I had support from friends. I launched my book last year. That brought in some funds that helped to, push some things forward, get some things, get us, started with the workshop, get us started with some of the designs and everything. And this year we won our first grant on Valentine's Day. I posted it on my LinkedIn. Yeah. You can imagine the shock. The funny thing was, there was a slight chance I would not have applied for that grant because I had been heartbroken by. I have a database of grants, so I don't just do things casually. Whenever any grant I want to apply for, I put it down there. All the details about the grant, I put it down there. So I have a compiled database of all the grants I've applied for. And when I looked at all the ones that were applied and the negative responses, I almost wanted to not apply, but I decided let me still apply for this. And I submitted the application on the last day. I took my time, prepared everything, sent in the application on the last day, and I think ending of January they sent us an email. We qualified for the top 20. Or like, well, we've qualified for top 20 before, we've qualified for top 50 before. Let's see how it's going to go. But when it came, I couldn't even read the email. Congratulations, you've qualified for the top 20. I think it was my younger sister who picked up the phone and read the email for me. I couldn't read it, and as she told me this was it, I thought about it when I said, well, let's see. I said, no, we're going to get this thing. For this particular one, I'm so sure. For us to have qualified for the top 20 for this one, we are going to get it. And come Valentine's Day, no one sent me flowers. No one sent me chocolates, But I received the email that, we were part of the, we were among the grand winners of that. And that was amazing. Like, that was beautiful. Thank you so much, Success. Thank you so much, as every other person. So it was actually pretty. Thank you so much, Precious. It was actually pretty awesome for us. And then we immediately put in the funds into what system we already started building. So you need to have a system built so that if at all you're able to win funds with a grant, the funds are not coming idly And it's not when the funds come, you now start thinking of what to do. When you get the funds, you already have what you want to use the funds for. It's called use of funds. What are you going to use the funds for? So as the fund is coming, you are using it for what you said you're going to use it for. So you don't wait for the money. You start the process. You do everything. I went all out. Kaito, I walked into a bank and told the bank manager to invest in Legendville. Like I was crazy. I met people. I told these what we're doing, invest in it. They were doing, invest in it. I disturbed everybody around me, and that is the tenacity that I would say that you need to secure funds. You yourself can even be working and generate revenue. I'm also a consultant because I'm a process engineer. So I'm a consultant for some other companies, and funds also come from there. And so those are the things that I put together. And so it's been an experience. Trying to capture all of this in just a few minutes is quite, once you break down into these experiences is quite something. But yeah, that's it.
I mean, like this, I think that this has been a master class. Like I feel like now I'm ready. I'm ready to.
That would be awesome, actually.
But then, thank you so much. I would want to open the floor for questions, but I think I will just ask one more thing so that people can, please raise your hands if you have questions. Also, please put on the chat box so that we can, once you answer this question, then you can ask your questions and then we close. I think one last question I would want to ask is what's next for you? What's next for Legendville as a whole? What's next for Project LILA? And then how would you advise that people, what would be your advice to people knowing all of these things that you know and, putting together all of this knowledge that you have built over the years? What would be your advice to people generally?
Okay, so I'll start with what next for me, what next for Legendville, what next for the Project LILA. We continue with our project. So the entire project, we have segmented it into how we're going to execute it, how we're going to grow it, how we're going to scale it. So we continue. It's about consistency. There's a program I do called Blue, where I speak with people. And last time I spoke with them and I shared with them how it's not the last stroke of the axe that falls the tree down is not the most important stroke. All right. Every strike counts up until the last. So we just have to be consistent. We follow through the plan we have on ground, and then we start reaching people. We already have a wait list of customers that are ready to. So we have the ones that are ready to pay. The moment they see the product, we have the ones that we just spoke with and just gathered them on the wait list. So they are the first people that are going to receive the product, and then everyone's going to be seeing LILA on their TV screens. They're going to be seeing LILA on their social media platforms, and it's going to actually move out fast, like sending water in the desert, because it's going to solve everyone's problems. It's going to solve electricity problems. You're going to have, all of that. So that's what's next. We're going to run that for at least 5 years before we introduce the next technology we want to introduce. So that's what's next for. And my advice to everyone out there is you might not always need investor funds. You yourself can actually fund your project. If you are working, you can actually save up enough money. Depending on the magnitude of what you want to do. I would say dream big. Thank you for this opportunity, Kaito. Let me even say this. Please, dream big. Dream so big. The problems we have in Nigeria, if all your mind is just to have one small shop or one small space, you are doing yourself a big disadvantage. You are even doing us a bit. I will be offended myself. Please, dream big. Every challenge. So my brother was speaking to me yesterday of someone who died. She fell down and hit her head somewhere, and this was 3 days ago. She went. No, it was 2 or 3 years ago. Sorry, and it happened at University of Abuja. I was a student who fell down and hit his head and went into shock, and there was no facility to, they didn't know how to treat someone in shock, and here's how he lost his life. If you are in the medical field and you are waiting for Nigerian government to solve the problem. So I don't know what to even say to you. Yes, government is highly involved in, has to play a part in all our solution. Good governance is required, but sometimes government needs you to show them the way. Look at Dangote showing government what government ought to be doing. How will government have 3 refineries? Not a single one is catering to the need of the country. And one man builds the largest refinery in the entire world. He has expanded to the highest production, and he wants to double it again. He is now the one. The government, NNPC, went to visit refinery, and they said they were learning, they were appalled that they were even thinking that the 650,000 barrels per day, that maybe when they go, they'll find them producing maybe 580 something, not exactly that 650. But they said they were shocked. They're even producing above that 650. They're producing about 680 barrels per day. You can imagine. So think big. Don't think small. If the medical challenge in Nigeria, for example, what can you do? The energy problem, what can you do? Solar, people are saying solar is expensive, batteries are expensive. What can you do? What exactly makes batteries expensive? Because we import it. Can you make a battery? And by the way, that's one of the projects we're going to be doing to our Legendville. But you don't have to wait for us to do it, because we are working on Project LILA now. How long before we get to that stage? What can you do to make a battery now? I started making batteries from 14, 15 years old, from salt and water. And I would use the batteries and charge a power bank, use the batteries and power a lamp. I started doing that. So what can you do to right now that can change these things? If we want electricity. I am not going to wait for Nigerian government to give me electricity. I want to make LILA for myself first. I care about you guys, but I really need to use LILA. I was sharing with one of my mentees today how when I was doing freelancing in 2022 and 2023, I had to hold my laptop and be going house by house looking for people that had generator on so I could charge it. I was working for a client in the US, and how would I explain that the work is not ready because there's no electricity? I was going knocking house by house, anywhere I hear generator. Some people couldn't hear because the generator was on, so I was knocking, they can't hear. Going like that. I went to a hotel at a point to the reception. After about 30 minutes, they came and embarrassed me. I had to walk out, and then I found that there's what we call co-working spaces and everything. It's a problem. So whatever idea you have, please think big. I know it will scare you. If it scares you, then it means it's right. And you just go about it. I'll just stop there, Kaito. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, thank you so much. We have one question. Please, please, feel free.
All right. Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
First, I want to appreciate Edidiong for walking us through his experience. Honestly, if you look at our generation, really, everyone wants to work under somebody. Nobody is really wanting to build something, especially in the space of engineering. Probably we want to optimize and all that, but nobody wants to produce something new that has never. So I commend you for that. I have two questions to ask you. One might be a bit personal. Then the second one is about Project LILA. So how well have you considered the classes of wealth that we have in Nigeria, the classes of people within the country? Because it's also very important that those classes be put into consideration. Because when you find out when you look at the energy sector and you find out the people that are lacking, the rich can always buy other stuff and sustain themselves for a certain period of time. I know it affects everybody, but the lower class or middle class are at the bitter end of this particular problem. So how well have you considered them or put a factor into consideration that you can provide LILA or other sources of power for them? Then second question would be quitting your job. You said you quitted your job because I heard you when you said that. How well has it worked for you? And what did you consider? Is one thing to have a dream, and is another thing to quit what is already working just for you to pursue that dream. So how would you advise other people here on the right way to make the decision, that particular kind of decision? So thank you very much.
Wow, those are very beautiful questions. Thank you so much, Ogogo. So I think the first question you asked, it was linked to one of the questions Engineer Kaito asked me, and I wanted to touch on that, but it skipped my mind where she spoke about rural communities and the rest. So there's what we call purchasing power of the market. Yeah. So and let me just let you guys know, one of the reasons why not everyone has electricity in Nigeria is because not everywhere in Nigeria is like Lagos or Abuja. Not everywhere has a booming economy. If you go and fix a transformer and connect a village that they don't even have phones, there, they don't have lights, all they are concerned about is farming. How much money is in that community? All right. So yes, we know how much is in the Nigerian community, but in a particular village or community, there is an amount of money flowing in that economy. All right. The total amount of money in circulation in that particular economy tells you the strength of that economy. All right. So for a community, a rural community that they don't have up to 10 million naira circulating in their economy. If you go and you mount, maybe Nepal, you go and you mount stuff in the name of rural electrification, they will not be able to pay for the electricity that you provide. That's one. They will not even be able to use the electricity because they don't have the economic infrastructure to use it. They don't have businesses that require electricity. They just do farming. So all they use your electricity for, apart from light. So the energy solving energy poverty in Africa or in Nigeria entails boosting the economic situation of everyone. That is, you introduce training programs, you introduce businesses. So you notice that wherever they want to do energy accessibility project in certain regions, they normally do stuff like this where they would come and do empowerment. They empower the youth, they train them in something. They will do something that will make them depend on that electricity so that they can use the electricity and make more money, so that the total amount of money in circulation in that economy will grow bigger by allowing more businesses come into the economy and go out. So that is there. So there is what we call the purchasing power of the market. So not everybody might be able to purchase LILA. Currently, after receiving the grant and we went ahead with securing parts for LILA, I was discussing with my team. We found out that the cost of LILA might reduce by 40%, all right, of what we thought, because of the source of our raw materials. We thought that initially it was going to be highly expensive, importing the entire thing. But finding out that we have some of those things here already that we can just make use of, it really cuts down our cost by 40%. It might even cut it down by more than that, but tentatively, because I said you have to be very practical with yourself, so you don't box yourself at the end of the day. So it might end up being more than 50% cheaper than what it is now, but at the moment we are predicting it to cost 40% than what we initially thought. So not everyone might be able to acquire LILA initially, but over time, while the economy grows, while we also do support programs, I'll just share one of the support programs we intend to do. So what I mentioned, how when you are building and when you're introducing the technology, you need to build infrastructure to support it. And I gave for cars, for example, you need to have mechanics to do it. So what we're going to do is also train people to be able to repair or work on LILA. So we'll pick youth in certain communities and train them on that. So it will help, in introducing certain kinds of programs that require workmanship that will make people depend on electricity. So that's the best way to be able to get people, and it will take time because it is like you allowing them to grow. By the time you start doing it, it's not like immediately you now have the money to pay to buy your stuff. You might need to give the economy time to grow. When televisions came in, not everybody could acquire televisions. In the village places, children will look around a house that there's TV and they'll watch by the TV, by the windows. They'll watch everything, and TV was black and white, but as the economic situation began to grow, more people now had more purchasing power to afford a television. People did not have cars before, but when they see someone with a car, everyone in the village will come and watch when the car drives past. But as the purchasing power of the economy grew, people were now able to afford it. But LILA is actually within an affordable range. All right, LILA is within an affordable range. People over time, but the costs keep falling, especially when we now start doing large-scale production, the costs will keep falling. So people eventually will end up being able to acquire the unit. Also in line with the programs we would do for those rural people to train them. For the second question you asked, you said quitting my job. How was that for me? And all right, so the idea for Legendville came in February. All right, I started it in March. Okay, and I quit my job in December. Officially, I left in January of 2025. So I got the idea 2024. All right. Then I left 2020, January 2025. I had garnered up some savings. I'd garnered up some funds before then. And one of the things that gave me the assurance was that I still had my co-founder there, and I was like, oh, he's gonna fund it, even though later on he left. But I was so proud. He just at that point he just came back to Nigeria and we're ready to explode because he was good, he's good in marketing. We're ready to explode the entire, you know how people will have ideas and they'll be like, they are going to disrupt the economy, they're going to disrupt this. So I had that notion. By the time my guy comes back to Nigeria, we are disrupting every space while doing this and doing that. That wasn't the case. And something really stuck out with me because I found out each time I traveled to the refinery, I was always overworked and engaged. I was not able to devote time to Legendville activities. So it's really affecting the growth of Legendville, you know. So I would spend a month over there, and I have a team of people waiting on me, believing in me. And I'm telling them this is what I'm going to do. And they always tell me I'm believing in me. And then I travel, and for a month, they're not hearing from me. It became a problem, you know. So I was able to maneuver it initially, but it became difficult because over there, I have to be up very early to enter into the plant. And when I get back, you know, I have to review the work for the day. I send in reports every day. I do presentations every day to the management. So there was a lot. I was always engaged. And so the time I would then have to attend to Legendville stuff would now be late at night, 10, 11. And I would have to be as quick as possible. My brain will probably be worked up then, so I cannot make rational decisions as I would. So I have to be very fast, you know, to go to bed so I can be up the next day for the stress of the next day. So it became a problem where I now had to pick between one and the other. And there was something I observed, the case of Daniel, you know, you have passion for something, but it's beyond passion. This is a solution that can solve people's problem. But will I now decide that since it's not compatible with what I'm doing now, do I give up and everything? Tell everybody go back. I'm no longer doing this. Do I trade my integrity for a portion of the king's meat? Because I was being paid well. I was being paid what we call daily outstation allowance fee. So for every day that I was on site, they pay them. I'm told that today, as of now, it's 10K per day that they pay them. So you travel for a month, apart from your normal salary, apart from your normal allowances and everything. By the way, they fly you there, they give you accommodation, they feed you breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it's always the breakfast, the food is exquisite. I should just point that out. You're working in the oil and gas industry, you're enjoying yourself. I'll just put that out there. So the whole thing was so exquisite, and plus the hope and everything. So I was like, so Daniel said I will not defile myself for a portion of the king's meat. A lot of people have traded their ideas or solutions because of their jobs or salaries. And one of the things God told me was that I'm not the first person he has given this idea to. All right, so I'm not the first person. There are other people that had this idea, but because they were being paid handsomely there, because of the job they had. Other people in the oil and gas industry, they see the problems. When you're in the oil and gas industry, I speak about problem fit, founder problem fit. You're already there, you're seeing the problem, you're part of it, you're part of the stakeholder, part of everything. So you're seeing the problem. So many of them, it's not that they don't have ideas of how to go about it, but they were so comfortable with what they were being paid. So, you know, you have a family, you have kids, so many things they will not be willing to trade that off, you know, and then if you want to now quit, all your friends or family will tell you, are you mad? Can you believe Chukwudi left this job for this, for that? You know, they're paying Chukwudi 3 million, they're paying this person and he's leaving for that. So a lot of people traded that for a portion of the king's meat. So that was the same thing I was battling with, that will I let go of this? And then I had to look on the long run, not just then, on the long term. Does it mean I won't do anything? I'll just stay in my job and not execute I've been doing like a lot of science stuff since I was a child, but will I stay in my job and not do anything? I'll just because I'm comfortable being paid, my needs are met with what I was getting. I could buy a new generator, install solar, install inverters, everything, and not have to worry about electricity problem. But how about the child that needs to study at night? I shared with I think you read my story how it was the salt and water that I used to power the lamp that I used to read at night in secondary school. I used that for me and my siblings, and I studied at night. So I'm like, if I don't end up doing this, it affects other people. It's not just about me. Life is beyond me. Life is beyond survival. I can choose to just focus on my surviving, my eating and everything, but life is beyond that. And for Nigeria, someone said something, and I would reiterate it. We should learn to be the ones to move from 0 to 1. We shouldn't always want to start from 1 where someone has already started. Someone will already come and do the 0 to 1. That's what Ogogo was saying, that people don't want to make things. They just want to depend on what someone has already made. That means you are starting from 1. They just give you 1 to 2 and you go. As far as you are not at the point of 0 to 1, you cannot make the most. You cannot boost your economy. China's economy is big because China is operating at 0.0. They are starting from 0 to 1. America's economy is big because they are operating at 0.0. When you are operating from 0.0 to 1, you're not afraid to make whatever it is you need to make. There is no limit to what you can achieve. So I really recommend that. And whatever idea you have, don't just box. I know a job is good. There's job security. You are planning to get married. You have family. You are the breadwinner of your family. I understand, and it was a huge problem for me. My close friends know my parents aren't together. They separated some years ago, and there's a lot of burden. There was a lot of burden leaving my job because I knew the implication that was going to have at the home. My younger sister was still in school then, so taking care of that, having siblings, and putting the house in order was so crazy, And so even though I had savings, I was not going to carry all the savings and put it at home. I had to put the savings into the business. So it was very tough at first. We sold a number of things. We sold a couple of stores just to get by. So it was a very difficult journey. I'll be honest with you, Ogogo. It was a difficult journey. Later on, by the grace of God, things started panning up. I started having people coming to my space that believed in me as a person. I started supporting the goal and the vision of what we are doing. God then inspired me with the idea for a book called The Economy of Purpose. I took my time. I wrote the book. I launched the book. The book drew in revenue of over $500,000 naira. At the launch itself, it was over $1 million, 1 point something, and that people used to launch the book. And so there was a lot of support that came along the way, but it all started by taking the first step. Just yesterday, my previous employer, he called me to offer me the job back with a higher pay and the rest. And as much as that sounded nice, I can't take it. Throughout that last year, I had many job offers. While I was in 2024, I had job offers from Dangote once. I couldn't take it. Last year, from Dangote Refinery twice last year again, so total of 3 times. I had from some companies like that, and I always had to turn them down because that is the easy way out. I can take those jobs and then forget about everything. Nobody just hear from me again. My life will just be sorted. I will say, Nigeria problem will be my problem. I will not kill myself because of Nigeria. And that, while that sounds like a normal thing that Nigerians, you feel safe. You are just making use of it to excuse yourself from greatness. And as far as you make use of that to excuse yourself from greatness, you will never achieve that greatness. So greatness has a price. I was sharing with a friend of mine who was a Muslim, now a believer. I was sharing with him how the fact that God has given you a promise and said to you, Abraham, I'll make you a father of many nations, you still have to pass through process. It does not excuse you from process. You still need to go through process. So for me, that's the process. And let me just give a spoiler here. So there's another book I'm writing. It's called The Man Who Hears God. Now that book is going to highlight, it's based on my experience of what happens when you listen to the instructions from God and everything, and then it takes you through a wilderness period. The children of Israel said, when we're in Egypt, we had cucumber, we had this, let us go back to Egypt. So that process, that if you go back to Egypt, you will never reach the promised land. So that you have to follow through and the wilderness till you get to the promised land. So that book entails it talks about the things that happens to you while you're in that wilderness. So I iterate how I had to sell a couple of things, all the struggle and, self-questioning, self-doubt, really checking and everything, is this it? Is this going to work? What is next? What's the next step? I have to believe in what I'm doing. I have to believe in what God has called me to do, really what I'm doing, before that people can believe as well. So that book would iterate on that for people. That hearing God doesn't mean to go smoothly for you. So the man who has God, you want to come out, I won't give a date now. All these things are cooking, and by the grace of God, I would have them delivered to the community. Thank you so much, Ogogo.
Wow. I feel like you over-delivered, Eddie. You over-delivered. Like, I'm so happy. I think I'm also very happy that I brought you in, and it makes me feel like
even that.
It makes me feel like I'm doing something like really good, because like you poured a lot, you shared a lot. I've been writing, I've just been rethinking about my life, I've been like, okay, so where are you? But yeah, this is just to say thank you. Thank you so much for how much you have shared. Thank you so much for being very vulnerable with us as well. Like, it's not everybody that will be very open to sharing even the innermost, behind the scenes that we don't even see, we don't even know about. And so I'm so grateful that you were very raw, very genuine, very honest, with us, and very unapologetic about, what you have gone through, your belief, how your faith has even shaped your journey and all of that. So I'm so grateful. I am so grateful. And I'm sure like the whole audience is so grateful. And I'm most especially excited because we have this on recording on YouTube. And so it's like, I'll always...
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I will share everything, or like all the details with everybody, so we can always go back to like listen, to get recharged, to build our minds, try and keep trying. And then also I'll probably share your LinkedIn as well with people. So in case people want to connect, want to like reach out to you personally, want to, draw more from your well of wisdom. They have the opportunity to. So I'm so grateful. Thank you guys for like staying tuned like up till now. We have like a feedback form on the chat, so please ensure to like fill it. I think it's just one question. Just tell us like how you feel. Like tell us how this made you feel. Tell us if we did something wrong. Please scold us as well. We are very open to that. And yeah, please, look out for more that is coming on with EnerGii Tribe. We have very exciting things coming up within the coming weeks. And so just like stay tuned. We also would be releasing a form for people that are interested in like anchoring some of these events we do, also people that are interested in volunteering in like, a capacity, something like that, just to make sure that there is a sense of ownership within the community. So I'm not just like, the face you're seeing, but yeah. So just, keep in touch. There's our WhatsApp community if you're not there. So far you registered for this program, you will get all the details. You get all the details there is to know about like our future events and all of that. So thank you guys. Thank you so much. I feel like I don't even know what to say again. Like I'm lost for words. I think thank you is the only thing I can say at this point. But then thank you for staying tuned till this time. Thank you, Eddie, for like sharing. And yeah, I mean, see you guys in our next episode. And then please stay tuned. Reach out if you feel like there's something that would be of interest. If you have ideas for the community as well, please reach out. We are very, very liberal, very open, and also very welcoming. So yes, please reach out. Thank you guys.
Can I say one thing? Yeah. So for those of you who would like to join the wait list to get Lila, send the link in the chat box, www.legendvilleenergy.com.ng. You can go to the website and click on join the wait list and just fill in your details and all of that. We'll update the website later, but for now the website is still active, so you can join the wait list and you will be among the first persons to use Lila the moment we release Lila. Thank you so much. Thank you once again for Kaito for giving me the platform so I'll speak and share my story and share my experience. I truly hope everyone learns from it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. And we'll definitely add the website to the email we'll be sending at the end of the day to everybody, just in case anybody is very interested as well. But yeah, thank you again. Thank you for staying tuned, and yeah, love it so much. But yeah, see you guys at a later time. Bye. Again. Bye. 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 Bye.